Hey everybody, welcome to Out to Sea. My name is Tom. This is episode 4 on our mini series here on how do I take a 14-foot boat with a 20 horsepower tiller to chase bluefin tuna, thresher sharks, mahi, and take it 15 miles offshore. So what we're going to be talking about this episode is going to be fuel and function. So we're going to be talking about the tanks on the boat, where I store them, the covers that I put over them, how do I optimize the space, and then also partially on the safety part of it, of what happens when that main engine fails, or God, hopefully it never fails, but if it were to ever, what do I do, right? Okay, so we're gonna jump into the gas tank. So I have 2 gas tanks on the boat. I have a 6-gallon and a 3-gallon. Now this is gonna sound ridiculous, but that gives me on a calm day, that gives me a 90-mile range with this boat. So it could be surprising to a lot of folks. So if you see me 15 miles offshore, don't worry about me running out of fuel. I have plenty. I could do that trip there and back, I guess 3 times there and back, right? 15, 30, 60, 90. But so it's one of those things where, like I always say, it's multi-purpose, right? And try to optimize your space. 14 foot is only so big. You got to make the most of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump back there. We are going to take a look at where these things are, and then I'll pull out some of the stuff that I have for the auxiliary motor, just in case something catastrophic happens. All right, so let's jump back there now. All right, so as you will see, I guess let me jump into the boat here. Ooh. Not the easiest to get into from the side, but all right. So 6-gallon is the main one I use. I like to, one tip I'll say mid video here is that don't let your gas get old, right? I mean, if you're depending on your main engine, you want to keep it as happy as possible. So don't have a spare tank and just let that gas sit there for the entire season and you don't use it to the tail end, right? Swap your fuel. I mean, sometimes I'll swap the gas tank. Sometimes I'll take the gas out of the 3-gallon, put it in the 6, and just keep doing it that way. It all kind of depends. I don't really have one best way to do it. If anyone has any suggestions, please just let me know in the comments. All right, so then again, as I usually say, is you'll see a lot of rust on things at the tail end of the season. I've used these things for 3 years now. A lot of this stuff isn't marine grade, so just kind of bear with me there with the rebuild that's going to happen. And thank you again for everybody who put in their suggestion on the poll there of whether I should brave it with the 20 horsepower or rebuild it. Most folks wanted me to rebuild, so here we go. Okay, so the cover I made is for the 6-gallon, simple, easy. The reason I made it the way I did was because I wanted to keep it somewhat flush to the deck so I can stand on top of this. It's not wasted space, and then I don't have to worry about crushing the gas tank. So if I'm out and I'm rocking around and I want to stand up and cast around, I mean, me preferably, I don't like to sit on a boat. If I had to sit all day, I'd probably not be doing it. I like to stand, I like to see out on the water. So I need to optimize the space. All right, so this is just like a nothing 1/2-inch plywood that I just reinforced a little bit, nothing crazy. But here's the fuel tanks. It's just a Scepter 6-gallon, but I have I forget, well, that came from Suzuki, so I can connect it to the fuel line came from Suzuki when I bought the motor, but I can connect this fuel line if I ever needed to, if I never needed to swap the net out of there. And I don't know if you can see it, but I can swap it out with that one there. Yeah, taking me a little long to get there, but yeah, so this is the 3-gallon under the box, and that box, I mean, multi-purpose, multifunctional. All right, so the other thing is like, okay, well, how does that help me with this Tatsu? Because let's say something catastrophic happens and I can't use the main motor. I've never had a problem with motors. Motor's been fantastic, so hopefully I'm not jinxing it by saying it, but this thing's been a freaking beast. For a 20 horsepower, I can't recommend it enough. Thank you, Suzuki. I'm sure everyone has their preference, and But this thing is like, I can't say enough of good things about it. Tohatsu, I mean, totally fine. The one thing interesting with the Tohatsu, I mean, I'm not obviously not sponsored by anybody, but interesting about this Tohatsu, I don't know if they changed it. It didn't come with a fuel filter. So it has a carburetor, it's not fuel injected. And I mean, with EPA emissions, all the little holes in the carburetor are so small that it takes like a speck of dust to clog it. So I was dealing with that when I first got this motor. I put an inline fuel filter in there, and it was a game changer. So not sure why that's not like a standard process or practice. Maybe they changed that, not sure. This was a few years ago that I bought that. Okay, so Tohatsu, the question is, okay, well, great. I have a fuel line here. How does that help me when I deal with a Tohatsu that has an internal fuel tank? All right, well, the answer to that is that you can make, I have to do some digging here. It's a little buried. I should have had this out before I did this video, but now you get to see what I have to do to get this out. All right, here we go. Alrighty. All right, so this is my safety and maintenance box. I have some flares. I have that screwdriver for this, for that. I mean, it's really that and more. But here's what I want to show. Here's the fuel line. So I have a cap that I end up making. Sorry, I'm throwing the camera all around here. All right. Okay, this cap here. So I drilled a not so perfect hole in it and then sealed it up. So make sure if you're using any kind of adhesive or sealant, it is compatible with gas. But this was I don't know if it was a Johnson Evinrude connector right there with a 1/4 inch thread. But just drill a hole, and I mean, it's plastic. You can just crank this thing in there and just, like I said, seal it up. Make it sure it is airtight, but then I could swap that cap with this cap. Now you look at this hose and be like, oh, it doesn't have a bulb on it, and it's like, okay, well, you don't really need the bulb. The bulb is just to fill up and just make sure that there's no big air pockets in there. But when I'm dealing with the internal fuel tank, I mean, there's likely going to be an air pocket in there regardless. I think it's like a quarter gallon internal tank, but as long as that's full, as you start using the fuel in that tank, it's going to create a vacuum, and that vacuum is going to pull fuel through the hose, and eventually you won't even have to worry about the bulb. It would be a problem if that was empty and then I tried to do this. So, but I can just put this in the top, connect the hose to the top there, and then that's the connector to each of those fuel tanks. So I could run it off the 3, I could run it off the 6. And then, I mean, if I need to get home, I could depend on that engine. I mean, that engine's pretty slow. I think that will top me out at, it's like 4.5 miles an hour. So really my range today is dependent on that motor, not that one. Because if that one goes, I gotta make sure I have enough of a weather window to make it in on the smaller engine. But anyway, yep, so let's jump back off the boat here, and then I will clean up my mess. Okay, so that was episode 4, fuel and function. Spoke about the 6-gallon tank, the 3-gallon tank, the cap for the Tohatsu in case something goes wrong with the main engine, the hose, and then we spoke a little bit of the efficiency. So thank you so much for joining, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments, anything that you want to see me dive into deeper, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Also, any tips, if there's anything that you've done that you have found helpful that you haven't seen today, please add it to the comment. Or if you, even just general comments, just put them down there. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. And I would say the tip for today is when your range for your boat is, or your distance that you're traveling out, should be 1/3 of your total range. So if for this boat, if I wanted to do it that way, I have a range of full range of 90 miles, So I want to do 1/3 of that as the furthest I'll go away from wherever I'm launching the boat. So I don't want to go more than 30 miles, because that is 90 miles on a nice, clean, good day. That significantly gets reduced if you're dealing with any kind of weather. If you're dealing with chop, you'll see, I mean, sometimes you'll see your fuel economy dip even half, or at least I've seen it with this. It dives pretty hard. And then also you got to make sure that for this boat, if I get a big fish on it, when we caught that thresher shark and the bluefin tuna, that was too much weight added to the boat, and I couldn't even get on plane. So that also will impact your fuel economy. For me, it's not even about that 1/3. It's more about how long will it take me to get back if I had to use that auxiliary motor. So if I'm going 4 miles an hour, if I go 15 miles, or let's say I'm 12 miles out, if I'm going 4 miles an hour, that's gonna be 3 hours for me just to get back to the inlet. So that's more my factor. I would say whatever is less. So if you're competing with a few different things that limits your range, pick whatever one is less, right? Whatever one is the lesser range. So right now, fuel tank wise, I can go 30 miles, no problem. But engine wise, I kind of keep it to 15 miles, because that'd be a long trip back. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Thank you so much again. Hit the like, hit the comments, add your comments, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you again soon.